Hello everyone and welcome to Activity Hub. So here we are with a new concept called control flow. So what is control flow? Control flow is nothing but up until this point you have executed the code in a proper manner. Like first you write a code and for example if you write 10 lines of code, the whole 10 lines of code have been executed just once, right? But after this control flow you will be able to execute. For example, if you wrote 50 lines of code, in that code if a certain condition is satisfied, then you want to execute 10 lines of code. If not, you want to execute the next 40 lines of code. And if a certain condition is satisfied or not, based on that you will execute a block of code a certain number of times. You will repeatedly execute a block number of times. That is what control flow is generally based about. It is all about logical operators, if else statements, and finally loops. Loops repeat the code, if else statement check conditions, and to check those conditions we need logical operators. So let's go. So what are logical operators? In the last video we saw about basic operators like plus, minus, right? In the same way, logical operators are also a type of operators which are used to perform operations. So firstly, we will go to equals equals. So equals equals is this operator. It is used to check if two values are equal. For example, if variable I is equals, if you do variable I equals variable x, then that means that the compiler checks whether I is equal to x or not. If it is equal, it will do something. If it is not, it will do something. And mainly these logical operators are used inside of if-else statements. So this concept, logical operators, you might not understand completely in this slide, but once you reach the if-else statements, you will totally understand all these logical operators. Okay. And then this operator is used to check whether two values are not equal. So if this operator by x, then the compiler checks whether whether I is not equal to x or not. So the first preference is whether it is not equal or not. Then greater than symbol, you know, these comparing operators, right? Whether I value is whether the first value is greater than the second value or the second value is greater than the first value. You will understand this in a thorough manner when you start learning about if-else statement. So let's move to the next slide. And another one is and ampersand operator, which says that this operator should be used when it is used between two logical operations, and when they both are true, it does something. And the two parallel bar operators is used when any one of the two logical operations are, or more than that, are true. If any one is true, it will do something, but this will do something when only one of them is true. Sorry, both are true. So notice, always don't ever forget, you shouldn't forget to use two ampersands and two parallel bars. If you mistakenly use one, then the compiler will consider them as bitwise operators, which is a very advanced concept, and never ever try to use that kind of things, because the compiler will consider them as bitwise operators, and it will do something else. Then that can create a bug in your program. So if-else statement, until now we saw logical operators, but where are they used? Since they are only used they are mostly used in the if-else statements. So what are if-else statements? If-else statements are used when you want to execute a certain block of code based on a certain evaluation, or when a condition gets satisfied. Firstly, if statement is used to execute a certain block of code only if a certain condition gets satisfied. For example, we saw this logical operator, it checks whether two values are equal or not. So if I equals 0, then if I is equal to 0, then it prints out the if statement is successful. So if I is not equal to 0, then it prints out if statement is not it does not print out anything. When the condition is so you can also change this condition with the not equals operator, right? When you put that not equals operator here, the compiler checks that if I is not equal to 0, then it prints out printf is successful. But here I equals 0, so right, so the printf statement is successful. So let's you will not understand completely like this, hence let's go to our IDE, that is Visual Studio Code, and do some operations. So let's include our header file firstly, that is something we have to do, and our main routine return 0. Yeah. So first let's create a variable called I, and let's initialize it to 4. Okay. So if I equals 4, then you have to print out, right? Print f if statement is successful, right? So let's execute this one. So executing control flow .exe if statement is successful. So what if I is not equal to 4? Let's see what happens. So it won't do anything. So when I is not equal to 4, then it will only then this block of code will execute. So we also saw that. Let's try some other operators, like I is not equal to 4. So this will execute, this will print out the statement only when I is not so if I is equal to 4, it will not print out, except that in any other condition the statement will be printed. So for example, let's change this now to 4, and you will see that nothing will be executed. So let's go to the other operators, like if I is greater than 4. So let's make it something like 7. So if I is greater than 4, this should execute this, right? So it should print out the statement. Yep. And let's see, as you know, even the other side, so this says that if I is lesser than 4, print this. So let it be this, if I is greater than 7, and if you remember, we had this ampersand symbol, right? Hence so now I is greater than 4, and now I is equal to 7. So what this says is, if I is greater than 4 and if I is equal to 7, then print out the statement. The both evaluations, conditions should satisfy. I should be equal to 7 and I should be greater than 4. See, the if statement is successful. So if 7 is, let it be 8. So will not print. So we also saw that the two. So what do you do when you want any one of operations as true? Even though if the second one is false, you want the compiler to print that, right? Hence at that point of time we will use the two parallel bars, and these two parallel, and now the if statement says that any one of these both conditions, like either I should be equal to 7 or I should be greater than 4, then the following statement should be printed out. Let's see. Even though I is not equal to 7, it is printing. It is printing because any one of the conditions should be true. So if the condition is not true, then it would just say, if both conditions are not true, for example, let's make it something like 3 and sorry, yes, it will not print. So let it be as it is, 5. Okay, let it be 7. Let it be ampersand. So let this code be like this, and let's go to our presentation and know what's so you might get a doubt that if the conditions are true, if the conditions written in the F statement is true, then it prints out. What if the conditions are false? The compiler, you might have situations where if the condition is true, you want to do something, and if the condition is false, then at that point of time also you have to do something, right? It is not good to just leave it like this. So that is where you use else statements or else if statements. So let's go to our presentation. So else statements are used when the above if statement's condition is false, and for that you want to execute a certain block of code. And one more thing is, an if statement can be used inside an else statement, that is else if. So the syntax is like this: the else if. So if if you remember in the VS Code we wrote I is equal to 4. So if I is not equal to 4, then else if I is equal to 5. So if I is equal to 5, then print out this. So if the above if condition is false, and then if I is equal to 5, then it will print out this. And not necessarily every time you have to use an if condition, because at certain point of time you might have an if condition. If it is true, you will have an you will write an if condition, and if it is true, you will execute a certain block of code. And when it is false, and for the whole false, like for any other condition, you might have something else. So every time there is no need to use else if, and I will show an example in our VS Code. So let's close our terminal. So if I is equal to 7, print out this. So if I is not equal to 7, let it be 10. So and else. So if I is not equal to 7, else do this. So if I is equal to 8, and then do this. Printf else if statement is successful. So I also said that there is so first let's execute it and later I'll say that. Sorry, I don't. Oh, sorry. If I is equal to 10, right? Else if statement is successful. So I also said that there is not necessarily you every time you have to use an if condition with an else. You can do something like this: printf if else statement is successful. So if the above conditions, like if I is not equal to 7, again if I is not equal to 10, so how this code works is, first the compiler checks whether I is equal to 7 or not. If yes, it prints out this code, and then if it is not equal, then it checks in this else if it checks whether it is equal to 10. If it is equal to 10, then it prints out this, and then it checks if it is not equal to 10, then for any other condition, for any other case or any other condition, the compiler will print out this. So let's make it something like 100, and you will see the output. Else statement is successful. So up until this point we saw else if else. So let's look at one of the most important concept, that is loops. So what are loops? Loops are used when you want to execute a certain block of code repeatedly for a certain number of times or until a condition is satisfied. So for example, you wrote 10 lines of code, and in that you want to execute 5 lines of code until for 5 number of times or a certain number of times or until a condition is satisfied. So there are two kinds of loops based on their condition. This is not based on the types of loops, the kinds of loops, like it is generally based on how will the loops execute and and in what manner their condition is written. So what is counter control loop? In this loop, the condition is written in a certain manner that this loop will execute certain number of times. In the condition you will write that this loop will execute these many number of times. And infinite loop is a loop. In this loop you will not write that this loop will run a certain number of times, but you will make sure that a certain you will write that if this condition is satisfied, the loop should run until this condition is satisfied. The loop should run until this condition is not satisfied. So the number of times the loop will run is unknown. For example, let's say you are taking input from the user. In the end of the program, you say that enter exit to exit the program, and the condition of the loop will be if that the exit will be stored in a variable, and that the value of that exit will be stored in a variable, and if the variable, so you will say that if the variable is equal to exit, so it will be something like if the variable is equal to exit, then until then is not equal to exit, until then the loop should run. So if the loop is running, the loop will run or the loop will stop running only when the user enters exit. So until then you don't know how many number of times you wrote the loop will run, but you just know that the loop will run until the user enters exit, and hence here the loop will run based on whether a condition is satisfied or not. So what are the types of loops? There are mainly 3 types: for loop, while loop, and do while loop. Let's see them one after another. For loop is mainly used when you're working with arrays. Arrays are nothing but a group of variables which we will study in the later section of the course. So what is the syntax for the for loop? This syntax can be used, and if you see the first part of code in the bracket, in this bracket, the first part of code, that is the code before this first semicolon, int I equals 0. Here you will declare the variable and you will initialize the variable. Sometimes you will not be able to declare a variable if you are running on a C89 standard. If you are running on a C89 standard, but if you are running on a newer version, then you can definitely declare the variable in the loop itself. Okay. And the second part, that is the code after the first semicolon and before the second semicolon. That code is just the condition. For example, here it says that the loop should run until I is less than 100. The loop should run until I is equal to 100. And the third part of the code in the bracket, that is after the second semicolon, this code is it is about modifying the variable. So here every time the loop execute, the variable will be modified. So in this example, the loop will be modified. The I will be incremented every time, as we know, incrementation and decrementation operator. Sorry. And this body is there, right? It executes every time the loop runs. So every time the loop runs, the printf statement prints something, right? So let's go to our IDE Visual Studio Code and then just so let's create a variable called j. So sorry, why do we need to create a variable called j outside? Let's create that one inside for. So let's the declaration of the variable, and int j equals 0, and next the condition, that is j should be less than 100, and plus j. So printf %d j. So if you, and let's add a new line to it. This /n will give a new, will print a new line. It's nothing but, don't think what is it. Okay, and let's add a new line even for these things, so that the code will be more readable, or the output would be more better. So if you see, it printed out all the numbers from 0 to 99. Right? Yeah. So let's go and look at another kind of loop, that is our while loop. So while loop does the same thing as for loop. You can do everything that you with while loop that you can do with for loop, but the only change is the declaration and initialization of the variable will be done outside the loop, outside this bracket, and the modification of the variable, or the incrementation, anything you can call, will be done in the body of the loop at the end. And the remaining body is same, and here there will be the condition. So let's look at a similar kind of. So let's do the same thing what we did with for loop. So as we have to create a variable while loop, and let's take I. We took I, right? And let's make sure that I should be greater than 0, and just printf %t new line, and I and let's decrement so that it prints from 100 to 0, 100 to 1, all the numbers in reverse format. So let's build it, and you will observe the change. See, here it printed out 99 and this 100 is there, right? It is of the I value, don't confuse it, I value, and then it printed out 99. So let's make sure that J equals percentage I equals, so that now the output will be somewhat better. So now you can understand the output. J equals 99, I equals 99, and all these things. So let's look. So what is the difference between for loop and while loop? You will mainly use while loop while you're working with pointers, and for loop while you're working with arrays. Arrays and pointers are nothing but something alternatives, which both are important concepts, and we will learn about them in the later section, like what are arrays, what are pointers, and how are pointers related to arrays and everything. So I would basically prefer for loop while using arrays, and while loop while using pointers. So let's look at the last kind of loop, that is the do while loop. So what is do while loop? Do while loop is a loop that is used when you want to execute the loop at least once. For example, let's in the example below you see that I is equal to 1, but the condition is I should not be equal to 1. Until then the loop will execute, but the condition is at the last. So first the do will execute. So this part of the block will first execute, and then it sees that after incrementation it sees that whether I is equal to 1 or not. But here it will become an infinite loop because already it got incremented, but no problem. Already it got incremented, but no problem. So in a general while loop, the loop will not execute even once, but in a do while loop this will execute infinite times. Like if you remove this, then let's see in Visual Studio Code, this gives a better understanding, right? And come on here. So now just a minute. Yeah, I is equal to 0, right? Now I is equal to 0. So do printf %d I while I is not equal to 0, and a semicolon at the end. So let's start it. Oh sorry, I wrote printf instead of printf. And 0, right? So generally I should not be equal to 0, but still it printed the loop should execute when I should not be equal to is not equal to 0, but it's still executed because the condition will be checked by the compiler only at the end of execution of every loop. Hence the loop will execute at least once. So almost our concepts are over, but the one last concept that is remaining is the break keyword. What is the break keyword? Break keyword is nothing but it is very straightforward. The break keyword is used to stop the execution of a loop when the condition is still satisfied. For example, sorry for this. For example, in this, for int equals I should be less than 100 plus I plus printf I. So according to the general, if we remove this break keyword, then the loop should execute until it crosses 100. So we will do an if statement like if when I is equal to 58, then you should break the loop. This break keyword just stops the execution. So let's try it. So here, if I equals 58, then just break it. Let's do something like if j equals 58, then just break it. Okay, the bug has been sorted out. That is when here the condition was when I is not equal to 0, then it should print out, right? So at the end of this loop, the I became 58, and hence this became an infinite loop, as we are not even modifying the variable. So the printf statements kept printing out the values. So let's see, after you have applied the break, you see that until 59 it prints out, and when I became 58, it did not print out, right? So that is break statement. So we've covered all the topics for today, and this is the challenge. This is your challenge. So first, create a program that creates a random number and ask the user to guess that number, and the user will have 5 chances to guess the number. And if the number user guessed is more than the number you gave, the random number, then you should print out that the number you guessed is something more than the random number. And similarly, if it is lesser, you should print out something like the number you guessed is less than the random number. And if the user guesses the correct number before 5 turns or at the 5th turn, then you should congratulate the user. And if the user fails to guess the number even after 5 turns, then you should print out the random number. So you might be thinking how to print out a random number, but don't worry, you don't need to understand this code. Just apply this code. These are comments so that you will understand what are these. But these 3 things, these 3 lines are there, right? These are very important. First, you will declare a struct like random number, and then you will initialize it, and this line will generate the random number, and the random number should be between 0 and 21. So you should even apply a if condition for this. So let's see how will a random number work. Just a second. Guess the number. So let's see how it will work. So I'm left with 5 guesses. Let's see. 5 is not the right guess. So the random number is greater than the 5. So let's try something like 7. It is greater than that. 15. Sorry. 15. It is greater than that. 19 is lesser than that. So it should be something like 16. You guessed it right. 16 is the random number. So let's. So this is how, and let's see like when we don't guess the random number. Let's make 4, 4, 4. The random number is 7. So when the user fails to guess the random number, you should print out, and you should even print out how many guesses. So what are the requirements? Create a variable called I and initialize it to 5, and that should be for guesses, and that should print out these guesses, and take input from the user, like name it as user input, and check whether the user input is equal to random number by the code you got there. And write some if statements, write some loop, write some if statements, and all these should be put within a loop, and mail the code at the Gmail that is given in the description below. And that's all for today, and it was a wonderful session with you.